There is a good reason why people abused by narcissists have a messy house. And no, it's not because they're lazy or don't care. If you've ever been in this situation, you know how hard it is to keep life together, let alone maintain a clean and organized home. Narcissistic abuse isn't just an argument here or there. It's a constant mental and emotional battle. It drains your energy, messes with your mind, and paralyzes you. It isn't about laziness, but about survival. Today we're going to unpack why narcissistic abuse can make even simple tasks feel overwhelming. More importantly, we'll examine why the mess doesn't reflect who you are, but what you've been through. Are you ready for number 1? Procrastination. When you've been through narcissistic abuse, procrastination can become your uninvited roommate. It's not just about being lazy or unmotivated. It's about how abuse rewires your emotional responses. You start avoiding tasks because they feel overwhelming. Even small chores can feel heavy. Emotional abuse creates a cycle where fear of failure or criticism paralyzes you. According to Dr. Christine Courtois, a trauma expert, survivors often develop avoidance behaviors to protect themselves from further emotional harm, which can trickle down into everyday activities like cleaning or organizing. You're not avoiding the dishes because you don't care. You're avoiding the emotional weight tied to them. Mel Robbins, author of The 5-Second Rule, emphasizes procrastination isn't about laziness. It's about stress. You delay because the act of starting feels like stepping into quicksand. Add the anxiety of trying to meet impossible standards, and procrastination becomes a coping mechanism. You're not messy. Your brain is in survival mode. Let's talk about number 2. Lack of support. Don't expect much help from a narcissist, or even a bit of encouragement when it comes to managing the house. Narcissists thrive on control and often view housework as something beneath them, or not their responsibility. They might act like it's not their job, or that it's something they don't need to worry about, leaving you to do everything alone. In this environment, it's easy to feel like you're constantly juggling responsibilities without help, which can be draining. The emotional and physical labor required to maintain a home all alone slowly chips away at your energy and motivation. Over time, the absence of support takes a toll, making daily tasks feel like monumental challenges. This lack of help isn't just a logistical issue, it's an emotional one too. Dr. Ramani Durvasula, a psychologist specializing in narcissism, explains that narcissists often dismiss their partner's needs, leaving them feeling isolated and overwhelmed. Instead of offering a, "Hey, let me help you with that," you will likely face indifference, harsh criticism, or mocking comments. It's as if the very act of maintaining the house becomes a battleground, where you're not just fighting clutter, but the emotional weight of the abuse as well. It's not that you can't do it. It's that you're left carrying the weight of the house, your emotional well-being, and the abusive behavior on your shoulders all at once. Let's move on to number 3. Scarcity mindset. Narcissistic abuse can create a scarcity mindset, a constant fear of not having enough. This mindset often halts your cleaning efforts because you worry about wasting resources like cleaning supplies, energy, or time. This fear usually stems from how narcissists manipulate you into believing you don't deserve more, or that resources are limited. Financial abuse, control, or constant criticism can leave you clinging to what you have, even if it's clutter. As therapist Shannon Thomas explains in Healing from Hidden Abuse, narcissists create environments where resources, emotional or physical, feel scarce, trapping their victims in survival mode. The scarcity mindset can also make it hard to let go of things because you're afraid you might need them someday. That old pile of clothes, stacks of papers, or unused items are not clutter to you. They're security. The problem is that holding on to these things prevents you from creating a clean, calm space. Now, let's continue to number 4. Conflict over shared spaces. Tidying up shared spaces can turn into a full-blown argument when living with a narcissist. Maybe you tried organizing the living room or cleaning the kitchen, only to be met with criticism or accusations like, "Why did you move my stuff?" or "You're doing it wrong." Narcissists often see shared spaces as an extension of their control, and any effort you make to improve things can feel like a challenge to their authority. Over time, you start walking on eggshells and avoiding touching anything in shared areas to keep the peace. This avoidance, while understandable, can make the space feel more chaotic, which only adds to your stress. It's not that you don't want a clean and organized home. The thought of another pointless fight drains your motivation. According to Shahida Arabi, author of Becoming the Narcissist's Nightmare, narcissists use conflict to exhaust and distract their victims, making them more compliant. You may think, if I leave it messy, at least I won't be criticized for doing it wrong. You can't miss number 5. Negative self-talk. The narcissist's constant criticism and belittling can slowly become the voice inside your head. You start to believe things like, "I'm too lazy to clean," or "I'll never get this place in order, so why try?" These thoughts aren't the truth. They result from years of being told you're not good enough no matter what you do. Dr. Kristen Neff, a self-compassion researcher, explains that negative self-talk stems from internalized shame and self-doubt, often caused by abuse or emotional neglect. Narcissists are experts at making you feel worthless, and before long, their harsh words become your own. They convince you that you don't have the energy or ability to maintain your home. This cycle of negative self-talk can feel paralyzing. Instead of seeing the mess as something you can handle, you view it as proof of your failure or laziness. When you learn to recognize and challenge that inner critic, you'll see that you're not lazy. You're just carrying more than anyone should have to. Finally, we're down to number 6, lack of control. Narcissistic abuse can make you feel like you have no control over anything, including your living space. Narcissists thrive on creating chaos and making you feel powerless. So, over time, you might start to believe that the mess around you is inevitable. You think, "What's the point? Nothing I do will make a difference anyway." This feeling of helplessness is not uncommon in abusive environments, because narcissists often dismiss your efforts, undo your work, or criticize you so much that you feel like you can't win. As trauma expert Dr. Judith Herman explains, in Trauma and Recovery, repeated experiences of powerlessness erode a person's sense of control over their life. That lack of control can make cleaning or organizing pointless, almost like trying to stop a wave from crashing. Instead of seeing the mess as something you can tackle bit by bit, it feels like an overwhelming reflection of your circumstances. It's not that you don't care. The abuse just trained you to believe you're powerless to change things. But here's the truth. The mess isn't inevitable, and neither is the belief that you're stuck. As trauma therapist Shannon Thomas shares in her book, Healing from Hidden Abuse, reclaiming small choices is how you begin to rebuild control over your life. Taking the tiniest step, like tidying one corner of a room, can remind you that you have power and can take it back, one little piece at a time. So, if you've ever looked around your messy house and felt ashamed or judged, take a deep breath and let that guilt go. A cluttered home doesn't mean you're failing, but you've been surviving. Narcissistic abuse takes a heavy toll on your mental and emotional energy, leaving little room for the small stuff like dishes or laundry. And that's okay. Healing takes time, and so does rebuilding your life and routines. Start small, be kind to yourself, and remember that your worth has nothing to do with how spotless your house is. You're not lazy, you're not broken, but recovering. And as you heal, the chaos around you will slowly feel more manageable. Until then, just focus on one thing: being patient with yourself. You've been through enough already.